The doorbell rings. You haven't even stood up yet, and your pet is gone. You look under the bed and two eyes catch the light staring back at you from the darkness. Your first thought? So timid. Maybe you reach under and try to pull them out. Maybe you call their name in that bright, cheerful voice. Maybe you just close the door and pretend it didn't happen. But here's what actually happened. In the 3 seconds between that doorbell and those two eyes under the bed, your pet's brain completed a survival calculation. Threat assessment, escape route evaluation, optimal defensive position. And under the bed was the answer. Not panic, not cowardice. The optimal result. To understand why, you have to start with what they heard. Because the doorbell you hear is not the doorbell your pet hears. Researcher Henry Hefner documented in 2009 that dogs hear frequencies from 67 Hz to 45 kHz. Cats go even higher, up to 85 kHz, more than 4 times your upper range. That doorbell carries harmonic overtones you cannot perceive. A stranger's voice through the door is a complex acoustic signature your pet was analyzing before you even registered the sound. They weren't startled, they were informed, and their ears weren't the only sensors firing. Researcher Alexandra Horowitz documented in 2009 that dogs can discriminate more than 10,000 distinct odors. An unfamiliar person approaching your door carries a chemical signature your pet has never encountered. New laundry detergent, different skin microbiome, foreign pets on their clothes. Before the door even opens, your pet has already detected a novel presence. Their nose confirmed what their ears suspected. Someone unknown is here. But here's where it gets deeper. When those sensory signals hit the brain, they don't go where you'd expect. They don't travel to the cortex for careful analysis. They don't wait to be understood. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux mapped what he calls the low road in 2015. The signal travels straight from the thalamus to the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, bypassing conscious thought entirely. The decision to hide was made before your pet understood what scared them. This isn't a malfunction. This is precisely how the system was designed to work. Speed over accuracy, survival over comprehension. And that decision to hide isn't random either. Most people think fight, flight, and freeze are 3 equal options. They're not. Researchers Braca and colleagues clarified in 2004 that it is actually a prioritized cascade. First freeze, assess the threat. Then flight, remove yourself from danger. Then fight, only as a last resort. And finally, tonic immobility, total shutdown. Your pet under the bed chose flight. That's a mid-range response. Not the extreme of fear, not the edge of panic. It means their brain evaluated the situation and decided, I can escape this. I know where to go. That's not weakness, that's calculation. Why specifically under the bed, not behind the curtain? Not in the bathtub, not the closet. The answer comes from Swiss biologist Heini Hediger, who in 1955 defined a concept called flight distance. Every species maintains a minimum safe distance from a perceived threat. Violate that distance and escape behavior activates. Under the bed satisfies 3 defensive criteria simultaneously. Low ceiling, protection from above, wall behind, protection from the rear, a single narrow opening, 1 entrance to monitor. Your pet didn't panic into the nearest corner. They selected a position that maximizes defensive coverage. But here's the part no one tells you. There's a second distance that matters even more. It's called critical distance. When flight distance is violated and the animal cannot escape, when they're cornered, the response shifts from retreat to defense, from hiding to fighting. Turner and Bateson documented this in 2014. This is exactly why cats scratch and dogs snap when you reach under the bed and try to pull them out. You didn't help them. You eliminated their last escape option, and their brain switched to the only strategy left. So let's address the word most people use: coward. Timid, dramatic. In 1999, researcher Job Koolhaas published a framework that redefines what hiding actually is. He identified 2 coping styles in animals, proactive and reactive. A reactive, coper, panics, runs without direction, vocalizes, loses coordination. A proactive coper assesses, chooses, acts deliberately. Your pet under the bed is a proactive coper. They didn't flee in chaos, they executed a strategy. Hiding isn't cowardice. It's the most intelligent stress response available to them. And the data backs this up in ways most people don't realize. In 2014, researcher Claudia Vinke ran a study with shelter cats. One group had access to a hide box, a simple cardboard box they could retreat into. The other group had none. The results were extraordinary. Cats with the hide box showed cortisol levels 50% lower than the control group. They adapted to their new environment 3 to 5 days faster. They ate sooner. They approached humans sooner. The box didn't trap them. It freed them. Hiding isn't avoidance. It's self-prescribed medicine. And the darkness itself is part of the prescription. Temple Grandin, one of the most influential figures in animal behavior science, documented this with Katherine Johnson in 2005. A dark enclosed space does 2 things simultaneously. It reduces visual stimulation. Fewer signals reach the brain saying threat, threat, threat. And the pressure of walls against the body activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the calming circuit, the opposite of fight or flight. Your pet isn't hiding from the world. They're pressing physics against their own nervous system. And the physics works. But here's a distinction that changes the whole picture. Hiding from fireworks and hiding from guests are not the same thing. In 2020, researchers Purunen and colleagues published a survey of more than 6,000 dogs in Finland. They found that social fear, fear of unfamiliar people, and noise sensitivity are two distinct behavioral traits. They often appear together, but the underlying mechanisms are different. Noise fear is a sensory overload response. Social fear is something else entirely. It's a prediction failure. Your pet's brain cannot predict what a stranger will do, and unpredictability is one of the most potent triggers of anxiety in any species. For cats, this response goes even deeper. Researcher Sharon Crowell Davis documented in 2004 that feral cats in the wild maintain not 1, but 5 to 8 separate hiding locations. They rotate between them continuously. It's not paranoia, it's survival architecture. Your indoor cat has mapped this exact pattern onto your furniture, under the bed, behind the dresser, on top of the wardrobe, inside the closet. Each one selected for sight lines, escape routes, and overhead cover. When your cat disappears before the doorbell finishes ringing, they're not overreacting. They're executing a defense map they've been building since the day they arrived. And this is where cats and dogs tell completely different evolutionary stories. Researchers R. Hori and colleagues documented in 2017 that cats and dogs use fundamentally different defensive strategies. Cats freeze, they go silent and invisible. Dogs flee and often vocalize while doing it. The reason is millions of years old. Cats evolved as solitary hunters. When a solitary animal faces a threat, the best strategy is silence. Be invisible. Be still. Dogs evolved as pack animals. When a pack animal is afraid, it calls out because someone might come to help. Same fear, opposite solutions, both written by evolution, and the space under your bed connects to something even older. Veterinary behaviorist Bonnie Beaver documented in 2009 that the denning instinct in dogs traces directly to their wolf ancestors. Wolves dig narrow enclosed dens for two purposes: birthing pups and sheltering from threats. This behavior has been preserved through 15,000 years of domestication. When your dog crawls under the bed frame, they're activating the same neural pattern as a wolf retreating into a hillside den. The furniture is new. The instinct is ancient. But here's a question that might sting a little. If your pet trusts you, why don't they run to you instead? Researcher Kristen Vitale tested this in 2019 using a secure base test adapted for cats. 65% of cats in the study showed secure attachment to their owners. They trusted them. They sought them out. But when a stranger entered the room, even securely attached cats often chose to hide first, before approaching their owner. Trust doesn't mean never hiding. It means having the confidence that you'll still be there when they come out. Dogs show the same pattern. Researcher Joseph Topol adapted the Ainsworth Strange Situation test for dogs in 1998. Dogs interact with their owner. Then a stranger enters. Then the owner leaves. Securely attached dogs use their owner as a base for exploration, venturing out, then returning. But when the stranger appeared and the owner was absent, stress behaviors tripled. Whining, pacing, searching. Your dog doesn't hide because they don't trust you. They hide because you're the anchor. And when the threat stands between them and the anchor, the brain chooses distance. And now, this is where it gets personal. Because your pet isn't only reading the stranger, they're reading you. Researcher Stephanie Reamer documented in 2020 that emotional contagion between owners and pets is measurable and bidirectional. When the doorbell rings and you tense up, when you call your pet's name with stress in your voice, when you apologize to guests about their behavior, your pet reads all of it, not as comfort, as confirmation. The threat must be real. Even you're affected. Reimer found that cortisol levels synchronize between owner and pet during stress events. Your anxiety becomes their anxiety, not because you failed, because the bond is that precise. And here's what happens if nothing changes. Veterinary behaviorist Karen Overall documented in 2001 that fear follows a predictable escalation without intervention. Year 1, mild withdrawal when guests arrive, moving to another room. Year 3, hiding the moment the doorbell rings, refusing to come out until hours after the guest has left. Year 5, preemptive hiding before anyone arrives, triggered by the sound of your phone, the jingle of keys, any signal that a visitor might come. Each unsupported hiding episode teaches the brain one lesson: the threat was real. React earlier next time. But here's the part that matters most. This spiral can be reversed. Researcher Emily Levine documented in 2007 that counter-conditioning works. Pair a low-intensity version of the trigger with a positive experience. Ask a guest to sit still. No eye contact with your pet. No reaching out. Scattered treats at a distance. And then wait. Let your pet make the decision to approach. When they do, even one step closer, the prediction model in their brain begins to update. Not all strangers are threats. Some predict good things. But one thing you cannot change. Researchers Kevin McPeak and Daniel Mills documented in 2017 that coping style is a stable temperament trait. Bold or shy, proactive or reactive, it's part of who your pet is. You don't fix temperament. You design the environment to work with it. A shy cat needs more hiding options, not fewer. A reactive dog needs predictable routines, not surprise visitors. The goal isn't to make them brave. The goal is to make their world manageable. So, what should you actually watch for? Before your pet disappears, they're negotiating, lip-licking when there's no food, yawning when they're not tired, whale eye, the whites showing at the edges, ears flattening. Slow retreat toward the exit. These signals are not subtle once you know them. And this window, right here, is where you can act. Before the hiding, before the spiral, build them a den before the guests arrive. A small dark space with something that carries your scent, an old shirt, a pillowcase. But here's the critical part. Don't decide where the den should be, watch where they go. The spot your pet already chooses is the one their brain trusts. Optimize that spot, add a blanket, block extra light, and then the only rule that matters, never pull them out. The den only works when entering and leaving are entirely their choice. One thing needs to be said directly. Never punish your pet for hiding. Never drag them out to meet guests. That technique is called flooding and it does not work. It accelerates the fear. Researchers Emily Blackwell and colleagues confirmed in 2013 that punishment during fear events worsens the phobia trajectory. Your pet learns two things. The stranger was dangerous, and you made it worse. And there's a line where understanding alone isn't enough. If your pet hides for more than 2 hours after guests leave, if they refuse food for more than 24 hours, if they injure themselves trying to reach their hiding spot, if they become aggressive when approached, these are signs the fear has crossed into territory where a veterinary behaviorist can help in ways you can't. Asking for help isn't failure. It's the science working as intended. So let's go back to that moment, the doorbell. You look under the bed, 2 eyes in the darkness watching you. Now you know what happened in those 3 seconds. They heard frequencies you couldn't detect. They smelled a chemical signature you didn't notice. Their amygdala made the decision before their cortex caught up. They calculated the distance, chose the position, and pressed their body into darkness and pressure. Not panic, protocol. They are not timid. They are not broken, they are not dramatic, they are operating a defense system that 60 million years of evolution engineered. And the optimal output of that system is the space under your bed. Next time you find them there, don't reach in, sit beside the bed, quietly, and let them know the system worked. You're still here, and it's safe. If this changed how you see the pet hiding under your bed, stay with us. Because next week, we're exploring something you do every single day without thinking about it. You talk to your pet in baby voice. And what their brain actually does with that sound might be the most surprising thing you learn about them this year.